This is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news, intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversation. 96.9 FM. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
This morning and welcome back to Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, your station for fresh news, smart talk. Day. It is Wednesday, the 22nd of December, 2021, and you are on the clock with Erin, Greene. Now that song out there, Over the Rainbow, and I have it on good word from all the bad man and gangsters in the Bahamas that you could play somewhere over the when you will make a bad man cry. Trust me, I get the word. I could play that. Anyway, I had to play that today. Let me tell you why. Every day I could give a tribute to my friend LeVar Pratt. I just gotta say this, right? Because see, at the age of 44, that boy LeVar Pratt was striving to fill the shoes of the Bahamian men and women that came before him. His father, George Pratt, a imitable spirit that built a boat with his brother and their bare hands to leave Long Island as young men. And then, they had to fight over that one woman to see whose wife it would be. But that's who for LeVar Pratt that I know, that weathered hurricanes on the ocean, not like me inside my nicely constructed house, but on the ocean, and sailed his crew to safe harbor through storms more than once, more than twice, more than 5 times. He's forged by his brother Chan Pratt, the world-renowned artist who showed him how to find the beauty and godness in all things, and his mother, Mavis Tynes Pratt, that taught him that all things are God's things. His brother-in-law, Leslie Mins, soccer champion and the winningest soccer coach in the history of the Bahamas. Brilliance and loyalty to family and community that he displayed to his daughter, his siblings and nieces, nephews and friends every day of his life. LeVar Pratt touched the people, his QC community, the Johnson Road and Bonnie Way community, the crews of the many boats he captained and worked on, and his family and friends across the archipelago, and will miss this giant of a man. So I stretch my arms out to touch those who I haven't touched before, touched in a long time. Matthew Lawrence, Todd, Goat, Marquin, Giles, Dwight, Troy, our friend gone, but not far. He right there over them waves, waiting for the water to break. And we all know these people, giants in their own rights, living lives forged in them by their ancestors and their community. And so while I thank you for sharing this space again with me this morning for one more time, I encourage you to do the same for your loved ones. And don't wait for them to dead neither. Do it today. Let's start a new Christmas tradition. Let's give the gift of remembrance and eulogy, right? Let's write a eulogy for your people right now. Tell them right now what they mean to you and what they've meant to the world that has raised you. This is a gift we could give each other. And I won't say it's free, but the truth is it's not free because it has a cost. And the cost is you being willing to sit and reflect on the ways that the others around you have touched your life and molded you and brought you to the place where you are. Bibbs and Andrew, I ain't even supposed to tell you I miss you, but I miss you because I ain't got my boy to miss anymore. I just want you to know he miss you too. Anyway, dear Bahamas, thank you for joining me this morning in this tribute to the father of Brianna Pratt. Good morning, Don McCarty. We miss you too. Good morning. Thank you so much. Arlington, we ain't going to no break. We're going to jump right into this show. Good morning to the audience. Remember, you're on Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. And I got a big show for you this morning. We're talking about giving gifts for Christmas and non-traditional gifts. In studio with me today, my guests are Matt Aubrey from Civil Society Bahamas and Kieran. What's your last name, Kieran?
Chase.
Oh, I like that. Kieran Chase from Intel Key,
Yes.
right? That's how you say it?
Yes.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Erin.
And today we're going to be talking about giving the gift of a helping hand this Christmas. Now, they don't know that I brought them in the studio to talk about charity versus real systemic reform, right? Like, I just want to throw that out there. I say encouraging, even demanding the wealthy sustain a culture of philanthropy. That's when you use your money and your resources to help other people. To sustain a culture of philanthropy and charity is not a bad thing, but demanding and making structural changes to legal, political, economic, and social systems that are rooted in privileging one set of people over another to ensure equal and equitable participation in and benefits from national and natural resources. I'm going to say that we could do both. We could do both. I don't want the rich people to think that we just come in for them and they money. That would be unfair. You worked hard in the capitalist system to amass your wealth, and whether I agree with the rules of the capitalist system or not, you ain't break any laws to make your money. So, I don't want to take it from you, but I think it's important for us to consider how much charity do we need? How much charity is sustainable? And at what point do we say, hey, if this money was circulating in the system from the beginning, would we need these charitable efforts? If people had more equal and equitable access to education, to employment, to housing even, would we need so many charitable efforts? Anyway, I just want to throw that out there as a thought this Christmas. Should we be asking the question, is it time to shift from charity to real systemic reform? I think it's time. Anyway, but I only sneak them in the studio. I only sneak that on them. They ain't really come here to talk about that. That's a big, heavy thing. But gift giving, that's my favorite part of Christmas. It's a Christmas tradition. We can give material gifts, We can give the gift of our presence, not our presence with a T, but our presence with an N-C-E. Maybe even offer ourselves to do chores and errands as a Christmas gift. You could give me a small bag of winter mangoes too. I ain't gonna argue with you if you'd like. But we can also give each other the gift of a helping hand. So today we're talking about how you can join or support Civil Society Bahamas, and NGOs and charities in providing much needed services to the most vulnerable communities and to ensure equal and equitable access to social and state services. And Civil Society Bahamas is working on a project to make it easier to identify categories of people that need assistance, what types of support they need, and which organizations are providing the relevant programs, services, and support. So good morning to my guests, Kieran and Matt.
Good
How y'all
morning.
doing?
Good morning.
Doing well.
Absolutely. Now, Kieran, I got to be very honest with you. Matt brought a Christmas gift and you didn't. I swear I put it right in the notes, a bag of winter mangoes.
Listen, I gotta take a ride and come right back if y'all want to wait here for 5 minutes.
No, man,
Run down to Kelly's or something and get you a nice mug, man.
No, man, I'm hoping that you bring me some ideas, right? Like the gift that you bring today is some ideas.
We got the gift
Absolutely.
of knowledge today.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and insights.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's get right down to it. Actually, Arlington, the callers. Guys, give me a second. Let me see who this first caller is. Good morning, caller. You're on the clock.
Good morning, Ms. Greene. Sorry to be your first caller, but I just wanted to make a comment before you get get a little hot in there. I was going down to get my booster shot yesterday and told the person give me a ride to turn through, going to the Kendall Jail I-6, only to find out that I was caught up on a line going into the sports center and they didn't have the booster shot at Jail I-6. I had to go to Malia. But when I turned into there, I was caught on a line with the Fox Foundation giving out treats to people.
Now, Sparky, let me ask you a question. Did you get off the line before you got a box?
I couldn't get off the line. You couldn't get, once you turned into the sports center yesterday,
Yeah,
that line must be from the University of the Bahamas to the sports center.
yeah.
And every car that went inside there, with all the police inspectors and everything directing traffic, left with a bag, with a T-shirt, with a gift certificate, as also a $50 voucher.
What?
Every car moved out of there got a $50 voucher
Okay.
from the Fox Foundation. And I'd like to congratulate whoever the Fox Foundation is, where they get their money from, but they give everybody on that line and them cars a $50 voucher for Super Value Solomon and plus gas voucher. Over $250,000 yesterday. Congratulations, Mr. Fox, and your foundation, because I don't believe the Catholic Church will even give out that.
Now, Sparky, I gotta cut you there. You won't get everybody pinched today. Don't talk about the Catholic Church. Dear sisters on Nassau Street, I don't know Sparky personally. He is a nice man, and he did not try to get all of us pinched just now. But thank you for making that note, Sparky. That's good to know. Thank you to the Fox Foundation, especially if you say they spent over $250,000 yesterday. Now, dear Mr. Fox Foundation, I don't want to tell you what to do with your money, right? But imagine if we invested some of that $250,000 in a sustainable food security or food grow program in New Providence to support underprivileged communities, right? One is sort of short-term and immediate, and one is sort of long-term and takes work and commitment from the entire community to make it grow and realize the same benefits. But all would be due to you, and we say thank you to the Fox Foundation for the support that you gave the people yesterday. Thank you for that, Sparky. Information and a joke. I really appreciate it. One more caller, you on the clock, and then I gotta go.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How you do?
All right, Mr. Greene, I apologize for calling so early. You didn't even announce me as a guest yet, but the thing about it is, you pricked my spirit about something which you said in your first thought.
Yes.
When you start to say, are we ready? And we got to see what
what level of charity that we do. And the next thing you just said just now about sustainable food. Ms. Greene, I don't know if you know that, but you enter a realm that is very, very touchy. Touchy. You remember that? You know that word?
Look at
Very
touches and
touchy
cheapest. That's how I graduate.
Yes, so it's very touchy, and you know the thing about it is, it pricks on my spirit to tell you and your guests and the audience, your listening audience, that the oppressors in the Bahamas didn't really release their oppression. It just changed from white to black. And the situation having majority rule in this country over 50 years. These antiquated laws that are still on our books was there from the 1800s and the 1900s to govern a colony, not to build a nation.
Yes, sir.
And this is the problem that we have inside this country. And the thing about it is that why are we, like you say, why are we praising and trying to give the handout instead of sustainable income? Why don't we take the old African adage and teach someone how to fish instead of giving them some fish every day?
Thank you so much. I gotta go. Thank you so much. And to my guests, listen, thank you for your patience. I really appreciated what those two callers brought to the conversation just now. Like I say, caller, I started with you, but we gotta be fair. I don't own the whole planet. And so I have to say to people like the Fox Foundation, listen, I wish we would shift the way that we support people, but whatever you do, I thank you for doing it. Now, gentlemen, let's get back to that first question. What is civil society? Is that just the people them who know how to behave when they go out? The people who know how to park in the lines? The people that don't play their music loud and drop trash on the ground? What is civil society?
So thank you first off for having us, and I really appreciate the comments of the callers. And I think it even ties back to not only your original question of what do we do in the short term versus the long term, and even going back maybe to your recognition of Brother Pratt and how you use your life and how you think about others. So when we talk about civil society, this is kind of a catch-all word for all the not-for-profits, all the charities, the associations, those faith-based organizations, even labor organizations, but all that are working towards ultimately the common of good. When you talk about giving, a lot of people use that word philanthropy. And philanthropy actually comes from a Greek word called philanthropos, and that means love of mankind. It means caring. So this season is quite timely to talk about this, because that's what, besides the tinsels and the trees and behind all of this, is ultimately thinking about each other a little bit more, being more considerate, being more connected to the needs and the interests, and making sure we care for others. So that's really at the heart of it, of what civil society is about. Those organizations, groups that have come together to mobilize and serve. Now that goes a long range, right? Yeah. So that's serving those that are impoverished. Groups like Hands for Hunger and Bahamas Feeding Network and Great Commissions. That's taking care of our environment. Those groups like Friends of the Environment, and Save the Bays, and Brief, and Cat Island Conservation. Nikita Shield down, right? But it also means preservation of culture. So there are groups like the Junkanoo Warriors and folks that are out there trying to exactly right. Our man Herbert Edwards, and thinking about not only that, but how do we take care of our most vulnerable, those folks with disabilities? So REACH and the Down Syndrome Society.
And Erin Brown Connects.
And Seahorse Institute and the Disability Commission. It's also those people who have those challenged of diseases that they're struggling with. So the Cancer Association and ACE Diabetes and even how we care for our animals, the Humane Society and BARC and those types. So it's really that whole wide group. So when you're thinking of those groups and those things and issues that our society struggles with, society are those people mobilized to address those issues. So when we're thinking about our concerns around the holidays and giving back, what civil society can be is the vehicle to have an impact, to help uplift. And they do both things, right? They do it in the immediate. There are people who are handing out feeding programs, Church of God of Prophecy of Pinedale in Grand Bahama is going to be serving 1,000 people on New Year's.
And
but there's also
singing
groups,
pastor.
right. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I'm just
saying,
saying,
yes,
yeah.
right. But there's also groups that are talking about food security. Right, so there's the Bahamas Healthy Health Wellness Coalition,
right,
and there's One Eleuthera, which is teaching people to grow and develop their own produce and start to put it on market.
Even Seasonal Sunshine Bahamas.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's so many of these organizations that are in our country, and what's odd is we don't even necessarily know or think of them all, or when we do, we don't give them the just due to say, wow, think of what they have to do in order to execute that mission, in order to be there, taking care of our children who have experienced trauma, like the Nazareth Center or Grand Bahamas Children's Home, those people who are struggling with addiction, like BASH, these folks, or those who find themselves in domestic circumstances, like the Crisis Center or FOAM or the Alexis DeMarco Foundation. These groups are out there fighting for gender equity, like Alicia Wallace and Equality Bahamas. These groups, again, all are dedicated, and they're being driven by some incredibly talented and passionate folks. But there's also a lot of things that have to go on behind the scenes to make sure that they can hire the right people, train them, be caring in the way that they execute, make sure that they can sustain beyond the day-to-day getting forward. You see the bells ringing from Salvation Army and Red Cross doing calls. We know about these organizations, and they need their support. Think about those organizations that you may not even know that are out there doing good work. So we have to reach out and connect to these groups and support them.
Absolutely. And organizations are always busy, right? So here I am, a radio host, and I say to advocacy groups and organizations all the time, look here, just let me know. Let me know what you're doing and if you need airtime, right? Because I know that you have to do the work. You have to do the work of building a culture of appreciation for the work that you're doing and why you do it. And then you got to market it. You got to get it out there to the people. That's 3 layers of work. So I say, look, my role in this work can be just to give you a space, because you're too busy. You're too busy to reach out and say, hey, did you know about what we're doing? And have you thought about how you could help? And so today we're going to talk about a project that will make it easier to find out what's going on, who's doing what, and what they need to continue doing what they're doing, and how you could help. Because for me, if you tune into the Culture Friday segment, I do a little research in the week. I'm not a music historian, and so I don't have that amount of time to dedicate to finding music. And so my catalogs and my playlists are all about things that I can find that are easily accessible to the average Bahamian. And it's just so difficult to find information. So to find a song, you need to know the name of the song. Maybe if you're lucky and you have enough lyrics to go to a lyric finder, you can put it in there and you can find the song. But if you don't have the album or the name of the artist, you're not going to find. And so I'll be looking for a song in week 1, and in week 4, I end up falling through a rabbit hole and ending up at that song. But I couldn't find it on my own. And so there are lots of people who want to help organizations. There are lots of people who want to help other people, but they legitimately don't have the time to begin a research project to find all the information.
And information is power. What we found, and I'm here not representing Org Bahamas, although we're very proud members. I'm here to represent Civil Society Bahamas as kind of that tapestry group that hopes to present and raise the game for the rest of the sector. And information, as you say, is power. So we realized a couple of years ago that no one really had the full list of all the groups that are out there. And Mark Palmer, who's now with One Eleuthera, took the lead, and he pushed out to validate that there were 800 not-for-profits, civil society groups operating, faith-based groups all across the archipelago. That was before Dorian. That was before COVID. That was before what was recently passed, a not-for-profit act that required groups to register and do certain things. So now we're coming out of all this experience, and we saw how vital not-for-profits were. Think about the food distribution network. Think about all the relief that happened for Dorian. Think about the work that's happening for those folks that are coming out of, COVID drove domestic circumstances in a way where there's more domestic violence. Think about all the groups that are responding to take care of those things. We just heard about the Marco's Law. Think about Rise Bahamas and all the work that Tennille Burrows has been doing to raise that game. All these folks are working behind the scenes, and we need to know who they are and what they're doing so we can make that case that they may need support, whether it be from individuals. And I also want to debunk one myth. Giving to these groups is not just about the wealthy. When they do studies across the world, it's actually people who have less money who give more. And across the game because they know the need. They just came out of challenging circumstances. They see what it might mean to fall below the poverty line. So they're the ones that say, hey, I can step up and whatever little I have, I can give.
And Obama, I think in his first election, really,
all small gifts.
Right, made great use of that that culture.
Yeah.
And found a way to engage with people and say, listen, that little $5,
right?
That's a whole bunch of bob, buddy.
Right.
We could save the world with that.
And there's great corporations right now that are making gifts. You saw Bahamas First give a nice gift to BTVI, and you've seen Alive is now reaching out, and Cable Care, and all these groups are doing things, Guardian, and they're all looking at who
If only the
groups
government
are.
will give us the gift of good governance this year.
That's what Ord works on, so we're going to do that next.
That's my joke. You don't say nothing. That's my joke.
We'll talk about that in the new year.
Q&A even in the room.
But that so when we did that study, we also realized we needed to do a new study, and as we did, we start looking at who could help us to do this in the best way possible. And IntelKey rose quickly to the top of that conversation. So I'm going to let Kieran talk a little bit about what the actual project is.
Yeah, so in terms of the project, our main goal was to make the facilitation process as easy as possible. As was mentioned, the previous mapping exercise estimated about 800 organizations in existence before Dorian, before COVID.
Right.
So when it comes to, mapping out and setting out our goals and where we are thus far, we actually have 89 participants, which means we've crossed the 10% mark in that estimation.
Right.
To get where we need to go, which is a 95% confidence level, 5% margin of error, so it's statistically sound. We need about 250 to 300 respondents based on that estimation.
Okay.
So we're about a third of the way. When it comes to the way that it's facilitated, we just, again, wanted to make sure that it's as easy as possible. Coming out of the election, we were well known for our online marketing and facilitating opt-in surveys.
Boy, listen,
for this,
I'm so happy that I met you in person because I was supposed to crack about 85 joke about the politicians that don't know how to read surveys.
listen, that's a whole other conversation, but yeah. Or they know how to read it and may not, like essentially what the data is telling us. But again, whole other conversation. But yeah, so for this particular survey, we understand that it's a different segment that we're trying to go after. The makeup is not the same, and quite frankly, they may not be as motivated, to give their participation as opposed to opinions on a particular political party.
Yeah.
So for this instance, that is kind of one aspect that we're using as a part of our methodology for collection.
Yeah.
But the main thing that we're doing right now is, one, contacting the organizations directly via email. So it's set up in a way where they're actually contacted by the organization. The survey is digitized by IntelKey, so they read that nice, pre-read at the beginning that gives credibility, and then they go ahead and click that link. Survey only takes about 5 to 8 minutes to complete max. The reason that range is
Is
wide.
that on the telephone and digital in front of the computer?
Correct.
Okay.
It's on the telephone and digital. And the reason I say it takes 5 to 8 minutes is because we structure our surveys in a way where either you have follow-up questions or you do not, based on your previous responses.
I got you.
So, for example, one of the key questions in there is, do you have a physical location? If you answer yes, then we ask how many.
You going to tell
And
the
then
police? My answer is, are you going to tell the police?
Absolutely not. And that's a good question. And where, we had discussions with this when we were, formulating the way that we were going to, quote unquote, go to market with this study. And one of the concerns that was raised was what happens with this information. We are all in agreement that once this information is released in totality, it won't single out anybody in particular. It's just, an amalgamation of all the data that has been assessed for the insights that's needed to help the sector.
Like, we're looking at things like organization name, what types of services do you offer?
Absolutely.
What communities do your services reach primarily?
Correct.
Right?
Geographical locations, where do your donations come from? So we'll get into those stats as well.
Yeah?
Yes, of
Okay,
course.
I can't
we
do
have
that.
we have some on hand from what we have thus
If you,
far.
if you know how much money I make from selling cup and bag,
But that's also part of the challenge is we know that one of the things we've all seen is that sharing information is something that culturally has been a bit taboo.
Yeah.
And what we need to know, and the reason why this is all important, is we want to support those organizations. We need to know who they are so we can make the case. When I think I've talked about this before, there was a group called the Bahamas Breast Cancer Foundation Initiative that used to do in-community screenings. For $200, they would go in and do a sophisticated screening. We know the BRCA gene is present here in the Bahamas more than anywhere in the world. So our women are at risk here in this archipelago. And for $200 donation, they could go in and do all this advice ahead of time and help folks out. They couldn't sustain. They weren't able to survive. So think about the difference between a $200 investment before to help somebody know that they may have a risk and take care of it, to somebody who now finds themselves with a high level of breast cancer in one of our PMH emergency rooms. Think about the expense. It's 200 versus 20,000, right? So we can do something about this. You in the public, the audience that are hearing about this, you all have those charities you care about. We need to know about them so we can help to promote that not only to government but to other folks who may have more means and want to invest.
Yeah.
Like everything, we all have our different tastes and interests. Some people want to be involved in the immediate. Some people want to volunteer where they give their funds. Some people want to step forward and just make a difference in terms of sharing information. But others, like you, are invested in how do I support long-term care?
Yeah.
So some folks want to help lend a hand as they build up a new center to be able to do direct training of kids in that community, and others want to support Life for Key as they start to invest in making sure kids can go off and get scholarships and promote and become the next generation of our future. So we have to cater to that. But if we don't know the information,
right,
we can't do anything.
And
with
there
it.
are all types of information, right? So for me, I was just thinking, look, if I'm running a safe house, right? I don't know if I want to tell y'all I run in a safe house and be where it is, right?
Right.
But Civil Society Bahamas is an incorporated organization,
Yes.
right? And they're registered under the NPO Act, right? And there are regulations that govern how they treat the information that they receive via this process.
Correct.
You know, but so that's one thing. But at the same time, if I may be a young lady from the island in New Providence for a couple of days, and I say to myself, you look here, you know what? So and so asked me to pick up a couple of boxes of feminine hygiene products for her. But while I'm here, let me go online and see if there are any organizations that give away or
Right.
discount sell, so I could put a whole bundle together to take back to me. I shouldn't have to go to the office at Social Services and register as an interested person and then wait for you to send me an email and then have to sit down and figure out how to read this database of information.
Right.
It'd be great if I could just go to an app or go to a website and search feminine hygiene product distribution spaces. And know that I could go here, and plan my trip all the way back to the airport.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's where we're going to use this information, ways that serve the public, serve the sector, and also inform and educate folks about not only what resources are available, but who's doing what and how are they doing. So we want to bring those groups together so that all those after-school entities, they know who else they're working with. All those folks that are serving people with disabilities, they know who they can draw upon. We talk about serving folks who, when we start to youth, go all the way to giving them career. We can't track that information if we don't know who's in the room.
Absolutely. Kieran, let's get back to the survey. Now,
Yeah.
there's nothing I like more than somebody calling me while I'm in the middle of eating dinner and they won't talk. I like it. No, I love it. Especially if you're one of them service providers that I've been waiting to talk to, right?
Yeah.
So first question I have to ask. Have you trained your telephone, what you call them, agents?
Yes.
In how to
Telco
tell a
survey
joke,
agents.
in how to tell a joke and how to receive a joke. Have you trained them in that?
Yes.
Because
yes.
they're going to interact with. Oh, my bad. Listen, Kieran, I got to go to a break.
Okay, no
Right?
problem.
When we
We'll
get
pick
back
it back
from the
up.
break,
Yeah.
tell us about how we can participate in the survey, what the different options are, and tell us what you've learned so far from the survey. We're going to go
Absolutely.
to this break. Listen, please stay tuned to Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. We'll be right back.
At Fidelity, the holidays are all about family, spending time with loved ones, and being thankful for the little things in life. Worrying about bills should be the last thing on your mind, especially during the holidays. Let Fidelity help you get your bills under control. Fidelity can also get you started with a real savings plan that actually pays you interest. The only thing you need to think about is what you will do with the savings in your pocket this Christmas. Now that's what I'm talking about. Fidelity Bank is here for you this holiday season because you are family, and family is important to us.
Like what you're hearing on the show? Want to support the conversation? Sponsor On the Clock today. Call Janet Lees at 302-2304. That's 302-2304. Be the solution. Sponsor On the Clock with Erin Greene, where she dissects, we discuss, and you decide.
Throughout our lifetime, we must all make decisions. No matter how we choose, the right one just needs to be made. Like having J.S. Johnson Insurance Agents and Brokers as your insurance partner. We've been serving the Bahamas for over 100 years. Whether you need home, motor, marine, or commercial insurance, make the right decision. Call 397-2100 or visit jsjohnson.com.
J.S. Johnson Insurance. Peace of mind.
This is Nahaja Black, and I am wishing you and your family happiness, joy, peace, and prosperity this holiday season and throughout the new year from all of us at Guardian Radio 96.9 FM.
Good morning and welcome back to Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. You are on the clock with Erin Greene, and I want to apologize to you all just now. I was distracted. This boy Kieran have a bag in here with him, and I think there are winter mangoes in them. I just think that they are. But guys, before we get back into that conversation, I got a couple of texts here. It says, Erin, look at the philanthropy and charitable work Adrian Fox is doing, and he has new money. Erin, what happened to the oligarchs who've been making big money off of us for 100 years, tax-free? They don't give back in an appreciative and meaningful way. That's a shame. Now, when you say appreciative and meaningful, let me put it to you like this. It's not that they're not giving back, it's that it's not a public display or an announcement. What you'll find is a number of the oligarchs are actually investing heavily in communities, whether through businesses that keep communities afloat or other charitable things. But I take this point here is that they become less meaningful if people don't know that this is the way that you are participating in sustaining your community.
It also goes to our culture, and as you said, that shame point that sometimes people have. But we've seen lots of folks who live behind those gates who actually have been quite charitable and are supporting some of those organizations that you would love and you see in your community. But almost the first thing they say is they don't want people to know about it.
Right.
Because they don't want everybody to ask them. And so we need to change the concept, as you said, about that thinking about this is not just a gift, but as an investment. Mm-hmm. People are very proud when they invest in a business. They should be similarly just as proud when they invest in a not-for-profit or a faith-based organization or an association or something that gives back, because that return on investment is just as important as cash.
Absolutely. Another text here says, great show as usual. I remember the last time I got a toy for Christmas, I was about 12. I went under the Christmas tree and only saw a cloth. I was so hot, I ran in my room and slammed the door. And the Christmas, I gave the gift of cussing. I used some I bet you got a different gift too. I bet you got I can't even say it, the pinch, I could feel the pinches. How did you survive that, sir? Anyway, sir or madam, I pray for you, because I bet you still getting pinched in your sleep now for cussing your parents on Christmas Day. But the text says, make sure try do something and buy your kid something. And I can say this, even if you don't have money, here's what it is. It's important to let your children know that you cared enough to try to make something work. Even if you invent a game with chalk and hopscotch, right? And then you'll compete for the championship of the world.
Somebody told me one of the gifts they were given to kids because they didn't have a lot, because obviously we've all been hit by COVID and the environment, was they were giving away certificates to teach a thing. So I'm teaching you how to plat. I'm going to teach you how to farm. I'm going to teach you how, so giving, you can give of your knowledge, you can give of your experience, but more importantly, that you just give of yourself is meaningful to folks.
Absolutely. Build a tent fort, a sheet tent fort in the house, right? Tell your brethren, look here, my children sleeping on this porch tonight. Whatever y'all doing in this neighborhood, y'all make sure that this part of the community is safe. So make sure I can be out here with them. You could use your imagination. Most of all, your children will appreciate it. Kieran, back to you.
Definitely. I want to share just a note on that as well before we get into some of those key stats. So this year, my family decided to do an acts of kindness.
Oh, great.
So similar to that type of thing, we just put, foot massage, back massage, trip to the movies, wash the dishes, clean the kitchen, pretty much what everyone cares about. They got to, jot it down on a piece of paper. We crumple all of them up, shook them up, and then pass it around and everyone pick. So I can't cook that well, but I'll be cooking tomorrow by way of acts of kindness.
Let me see your hand. Hold on. Let me see your left hand. Oh, boy. Miss, I pray for you. I was going to come, but I see that you have the honor of almost dying. I pray for you. Go on.
Yeah. So I think where we left off was, first of all, I know you mentioned incorporation.
Right.
So I just want to quickly touch on that. 77% of the participants are actually incorporated. The rest are not. You do not have to be incorporated to participate in the survey. It actually helps the insight, driving process just to determine the outlook of the sector as a whole. So definitely, don't rule yourself out. Don't think you have to be, legitimized to a certain extent to participate. If you are active in the community, please feel free to go ahead.
If you make your porch or your house available to teach 2 or 3 children how to sew after school, you qualify for this survey.
Absolutely. Awesome. Next would be, if you want to just go ahead and complete the survey directly online, you can go to intelkey.info/CSO Mapping 2021. CSO Mapping 2021 is in all caps.
Backslash or forward slash?
Backslash.
Okay.
And I have some hot news. In addition to the corporate partner of IntelKey, who's bringing us so much value, we also have another corporate partner who's come aboard and allowing us to actually offer prizes. So all the organizations that fill out these, we're going to enter you in a raffle, and the prizes will be, and this is for the charity, not for people, but for the charity, a $500 prize, a $200 prize, $200 prizes, and $50. And that funds can go directly to the mission of those organizations. So if you complete these based on the support from an outside business that realizes this is important, we will make sure that you have a chance to win funds to help your mission.
So I have to spend $50 on the Chickchanis at my Chickchani preserve. I can't spend it on the people who have to.
But you can do Chickchani food, Chickchani houses, you could do Chickchani toys, whatever needs those Chickchani needs
I got you.
Exactly. And your second option is, if you do want to be contacted by phone, it's a quick and easy process. Our IntelKey survey agent will call you. Very personable, because we know we have to deal with, a lot of personalities and, quite frankly, busy people that don't have the time to sit in front of the computer because they're helping, right? So we do have those survey agents to walk you through that process. You can just simply email your request to info@intelkey.com.
info@intelkey.com. Now listen, you guys train these young people well when they do this, because I have a service provider I don't like to talk to because they don't like to talk to me when I call. The reps are great when they call. I would say this, when they call to offer you services, they're wonderful, young, very young people, And sometimes I get mad at them, and then, not them, but the company they call in from. And I do things like I ask you, when you ask me a question, I say, no, but. Did you hear what Minna said about that thing? Would you? Like, I'll ask you a question back. Because that's the only way I could express my annoyance with the larger company, right? But so I want to say to the wider public, please be polite with these young people when they go, and the old people, because if I could get a job calling, I can get a job.
I take issue with that you put us in the old category, but yes, I think it's also important to know. So when folks would get these calls, Intel Key is working in partnership with Civil Society Bahamas, One Eleuthera Foundation, the Organization for Responsible Governance, and this is representing lots and lots and lots of organizations. So we want to make sure that you're receiving this call for the best purpose. So it's not a call to try and sell you something. It's not a call to gather your information and give it out freely. It's going to be used effectively, confidentially, and helping us to understand and better serve the charitable sector, as well as getting people to get information about how they can get supports, how they can get resources.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Let me get to this call and see if they're still there, and then we get back to finish off about the survey. Arlington.
Sounds good.
Let's see if this call is still here. Oh, I'm so sorry, caller. My bad. Okay, let's finish off with this survey.
Yep. So I do have 4 key insights that I want to cover thus far. I know you alluded to them in the previous conversation, so I'll just run through them quickly. Question and result format. One was, which activity absorbs the largest part of your organization's resources, or the activity that's most important to you? So currently we have 24% in education, science, and technology. So that's number 1. Number 2, 14% is social services. And then third, for as many churches as we have, street to street, corner to corner, 12% is religion thus far. So very interesting insight there. Education, science, and technology currently leads the way in terms of where all of these resources are being allocated in the sector.
Right. So it would suggest that people are actively working on climate change and environmental issues and building capacity for local practitioners to engage those industries. Yeah?
Correct.
All right, go on.
All right. The second was, where does the majority of the support come from? So I know Matt made some reference to that secondary research, what's experienced in the U.S. in terms of small donations. So 52% of all cash donations come from single individuals, not corporate organizations. That's where the majority is coming from. So we're pretty much seeing the same effect here, where you have a lot of people who, quote unquote, feel the struggle. It resonates with them. Potentially these are their family members, etc. They have some close ties, and they feel the need to make those constant small contributions in the form of cash.
Man, look here, I feel the need to cry. The people who single, unmarried people, right? And all the people say this, I don't need a man.
He wasn't being single by not married. He meant that they were, instead of corporations or foundations.
Correct. Oh, you meant individuals.
Individuals, right? I show up as Kieran Chase, and I'm here to make this $50 donation.
Right.
I know it's not much, but this is what I can give at this time.
But that's critical, because when you're a charity or a not-for-profit, you think, I need to get that big fish. I need to go get Guardian to give me. Yeah. The reality is, it's those individuals and their ability to give of their own discretionary funding that's going to make the difference.
I would like to say good morning to Franz Ferguson from the Sport 242. And if you have a moment, sir, can you lend me $1? If you remember Franz from the Sport 242, right? But that whole skit is for others, it's just a funny skit about Bohemian culture, but for me, it's a skit about the power of street economics and the way that we sort of disregard the intelligence of people who we think because they may be disadvantaged at this moment or impoverished, or they maybe would be like to call a Jones or begging for money.
Right.
But the truth is that strategy is so effective in terms of raising money.
But also think about what Kieran said, is that the first priority is education, science, and technology. These are not quick fixes.
Yeah.
These are investments in the future.
Yep.
So we're talking individuals who care about changing the world. So Erin, to your original question, there's a lot of people who seem to care about not just making sure we give charity, but how we actually set up systemic reform that's going to make a difference long term.
Absolutely.
And that's great, because we need to build on that.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is fantastic, although nobody has shown me yet where I could find a group of non-Chicchani, because they have a union now. I need some volunteers for Christmas to clean and wrap gift and clean Christmas dinner. Thank God them Chicchanis have a union now. I listen, we are all out of time. Just one quick text. Erin in the U.S., philanthropist is a title the wealthy want. And they pay big taxes on their money, and they will give most of it away before they die. Our oligarchs don't want nobody to know they're rich and charitable. I don't buy that. They just mean. They ain't save. Well, they saving money. And they're not mean. I think what I'm asking for is that they shift from that charity mode that they are very invested in. They are helping people throughout the country to one that demands structural reform to enable equitable access to national and natural resources.
And part of it is we have to be intentional. So we need to have the information. So this survey is critical. So please help us to support that. You charities out there, make sure that you fill out the survey. You folks that care about those charities, talk to your favorite charity, make sure that they would have filled out the survey.
And I just want to reiterate one more time. Send your email request to info@intelkey.com so you can be added to our contact list. We'll reach out to you, and you have the options of either having it facilitated to you via email or doing it right there on the phone. You can trust and believe that it'll take you a maximum of 8 minutes, and we'll definitely take care of you in a nice, polite manner. Make the process as easy as possible, because that's our job.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mr. Matt Aubrey from Civil Society Bahamas and Kieran Chase from Intel Key for joining us this morning, talking about giving the gift of a helping hand this season. I'm all out of time. You know that means it's 11 a.m. and Levon Miller and Unleashed is up next. Have a great day, Bahamas. Tomorrow, we're going to have Cedric Moss on, and we're going to be talking about a whole bunch of things, and I'm going to throw the question at him. Cultural Christmas or religious Christmas? Which one am I allowed to have this year? Anyway, stay tuned to Guardian Radio 96.9 FM all day.